Welcome to Board Game Archaeologists, where we play time-worn games from the past. I'm Hunter,
I'm Rob.
and today we're looking at Little House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie, the game from 1978, based on the TV show from 1974. It went 9 series. The game was made by Parker Brothers, ages 6 to 12, and 2 to 4 players.
The goal of Little House on the Prairie is to get all of your Ingalls family into the little house on the prairie.
The parts to the game include the Ingalls family. You have Mary and Laura, Ma and Carrie, and Pa and Jack. Those are your 3 character groupings. You have your spinner, you have your board, and you have your action cards.
To start, you pick out a dealer, and they shuffle the number and character cards, and then deal to they deal 3 cards to each player. Then the person left of the dealer has to deal with. You take the first card from the deck, you flip it up, and then the person left of the dealer has to then deal with that card. And so a character would need to move 7 spaces if they got the 7 card. And so to determine which character gets to move 7 spaces, you spin the wheel, and whichever character it lands on, you have to do that. However, like every single spin in this game, you can choose to spin again if you don't like the results of your first spin.
Yep. And there's special things on the board as you're going around. There's danger spaces. There's 3 here, 3 here, and 3 here. And the danger spaces make you move back 5 spaces. There's only 2 real positive, well, there's 5 positive ones, but the strong horses and the good harvest, you actually get to spin again. You only get to spin once. You can't spin twice for that one. And then there's the all's well that ends well, and you get to move 1 space forward.
And like Swahili, if you remember this episode, you can move all of the characters at once if they're all bunched together. However, there are cards that in the character and number deck that are played that says only a certain character, which then disbands your people. Or if you take all of your people into a danger zone, one person usually kind of is sacrificed more or less to go into the danger zone and then go backwards so that the group is split up, and that's never a good thing.
Right. The only way that would be different is if you're moving more than 5 spaces into it. And that way when you're moving 5, like if you were doing 11, landed on it, came back, you'd bring all your guys for that.
Yeah. And there are moments when that can actually work out in your favor. Like over in this area, if you hit that danger space on the very far right, you get back into good harvest and you can spin again.
Right. Same goes with the fire, too. You can land back on the strong horses. To end the game, you get all your players in here. And one of the other things that can cause some grief is once you have one of your groups in there, say Pa and Jack are in there, every time one of the other characters plays Pa and Jack, you lose a turn. So once you get in there, you're kind of losing turns until you get a number laid on you or you get a special roll or something like that.
That way, a lot of people can just kind of play whatever they want and still win. It's never a game that you absolutely know for certain that you're going to win.
Right. It's not completely skill. There's a luck part to it, too. But it's still a very fun game. What did you like about the game?
At first I thought that the size of the board was going to be an issue for me just because of like how few spaces there are, and you can move up to 12 spaces on the wheel.
Right.
So you can really whip through this board. But I found that actually putting that into practice was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Just like the hazard spaces left huge windows to just fall into traps to keep churning into this. You'd never be able to get high enough to get past it and stuff like that.
Right. And even though there's few things, it's 3 times everything because you have 3 different characters that you're getting all the way through it. So, it's 3 times the spaces you would think it would be.
It can get even harder when people are actively using the cards against you, where they really take time to look at how many characters you have and where they're placed and say, oh, well, if they move this character this many spaces, it's advantageous to put down the Laura and Mary card. And so you can really turn this into, it can become a longer thing.
Right, right. The one thing I really thought was funny about the game is we're coming right off a $6 Million Man, which kind of had the same thing going where you had 3 groupings of $6 Million Men and you're trying to find out which one's the real one. This is like we're trying to figure out who the real Ingalls family is. Are you the bionic Ingalls family or are you the Ingalls family making it back to their house? So that was kind of the one thing I couldn't get out of my head having just played $6 Million Man is that now I just want to know what the real Ingalls characters are.
Yeah.
Is there anything you didn't like about the game?
I think one of the things that I wasn't a huge fan of was just that a lot. I think there could have been more gameplay elements that affect the family and maybe like disband them. It's like the danger zone is kind of very blunt, and other than the being able to spin again spaces, there isn't a whole lot going on. It's not like if you land on another multiverse Ingalls family member, you can make them duke it out. There's no interactivity between players. You can make it harder for other players to do things, but you can't really do anything directly to them, which maybe that was like an intentional move on their part, knowing the demographic. But
I think the game is definitely for their age bracket. I think that's the big thing about it. But you're right. If you added more to it, it'd be more of a family game, I think, instead of a younger person's game.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that we kept kind of losing track of were the cards. Because it feels like you're playing this board game with a spinner, and the cards seem like this extra part of it that you're not quite used to. But it's super important for the game. It's really how the strategy is built, is through the cards, because the spin is just a luck thing. And your cards play is really your only strategy of the game.
And the pacing is really determinant on how fast you can. Even when constantly reminded, it's hard to remember. It's like you make your move, and then it's like, oh, put down your card, pick one up. If you do that, the game goes a lot faster. But for some reason, I don't know what it is. It's hard to focus sometimes.
Right, you want to set those cards down, or just not pick one up until 3 people have picked it up, and you're picking that one up too. But all in all, I thought it was a real fun game. The art on the box is truly, the TV show that I grew up with and my wife grew up with, which is Mom. And we were huge fans of this. And I actually got this for Laura for Christmas or her birthday a couple of years ago. Just a fun thing.
But otherwise, I think it's a really playable experience. You can play this with basically any. It says 6 to 12, and we say it a lot, but you could play with someone younger than 6.
That's true, and you can always play with people older than 6 or 12 because we like playing games.
Well, thanks for watching.
Yeah, and if you want to see more about us and the past games we've done, including the $6 Million Man, which is kind of like this, you can check us out on toyarchaeology.com. You can find us on Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.